because you have to move forward in ignorance. So you're always making a decision about what you're going to take on faith. I don't care what you're doing. You have to make that decision. Well, what if you staked your life on the intrinsic value of sublime meaning? How would that be? Well, you'd have to act it out to find out. But you do get hints, if you're gripped by something beautiful, it does that. Something artistic that's deep. If you're gripped by literature that stretches you, it does that. A movie that engrosses you does that. Almost everything you do that's entertaining does that. When you're at a sports event and you're watching someone stunningly skilled do something incredibly difficult, that puts you in the same place, that stretches you out and produces this intimation of meaning. And then you might say as well, and this would be lovely if it was true, and I do think it's actually true, which is really quite something, is what's the best antidote to pain? And you might say, well, pleasure. It's like, yeah, that's not going to be forthcoming that much when you're in pain. And then pleasure per se has its own vices, let's say, that's for sure. How about meaning as the antidote to pain? How would that be? Then you might think, well, where do people find meaning? Well, they certainly find it in aesthetic pursuits and artistic pursuits, in the domains of literature and art, beauty, all of that, but people also find meaning in responsibility. And that's something we've forgotten to a degree that's almost incomprehensible. If you're ever really ill, which you will be, if you're ever really in pain, which you certainly will be, if you're ever faced with hellish circumstances, which you certainly will be, you might ask yourself, well, what do you have under those circumstances? And maybe if you're fortunate, you have someone to play with. And maybe if you're fortunate, you have the meaning of your responsibilities. And even if you're the sinner who's produced the hell that's around you, and you can say to yourself, yeah, but I've been a good servant to my wife, and I've been a good father to my children, and my family's been a credit to the community, and I've taken on some community responsibilities to try to set the broader world around me right, and I've shouldered my civic duties, and as far as I've been able to, I've been a good person. Then maybe while you're suffering, you don't have to scourge yourself with all your sins at the same time. And that's something, man. And maybe in that situation, that's all you're going to have.